Hi everybody, thank you very much for inviting me to discuss in this beautiful conference. And I want to thank Michele for introducing the complexity of the problem of conservation of seahorses, and thanks to George as well for explaining what they did in Tau Lagoon. So I want to show you the journey undertake for conservation of seahorses in the Mar Piccolo of Taranto. I will try to show you how complex is an approach for conservation and how much is necessary to have a multidisciplinary approach to have success in a conservation project. We are talking about Mar Piccolo di Taranto, which is a lagoon in the southern eastern part of Italy. Here we are is the Apulian region. We have three important MPA. One of these will be more important at the end of this discussion. And we are planning with the local government together with the government to create another MPA in Taranto city that could include the Mar Piccolo of Taranto as well. As we can see, the Mar Piccolo di Taranto, which has a surface of about 21 square kilometers, is deeply influenced by the presence of humans, by human activity. We have on the western part the town, we have the navy in the southern part, then you have shipyards, we have steel works in this part, which has a very important role in the function of ecosystem within the Mar Piccolo. And we have a navy here, we have Air Force base, NATO base, and another Air Force base in the Mar Piccolo. So the relationship between nature and the human is very strong in the Mar Piccolo di Taranto. So the question is why there are so many seahorses in a place like this. But there are important features of Mar Piccolo di Taranto, which are very important to regulate the functioning of ecosystem in the basin. They are called C3. They are underwater, on the bottom spring, freshwater spring that bring fresh water, clean water within the basin. These are very important because they contribute with the tidal fluxes to regulate the hydrodynamic within the basin. This is how the man impact and influence the structure of the Mar Piccolo of Taranto. I reported just two important elements within the basin, which are the anthropic landfills in gray, anthropic landfills. Mar Piccolo has a shore mostly sandy and muddy. The only hard substrate available in the Mar Piccolo di Taranto are realized by humans, and almost of them are concrete walls and concrete blocks. They are very important for the biodiversity of Mar Piccolo di Taranto. And then there is another big element that we should consider when you think to the Mar Piccolo as an environment, a natural environment. The presence of huge mussel farms. We have two kinds of mussel farms. We have traditional mussel farms. This one, on the top on the right, is the old way to produce mussels in Mar Piccolo di Taranto. This means iron poles fixed to the bottom. So again, hard substrate in the Mar Piccolo di Taranto. And we have the new way to produce mussels with the buoy, the long line systems now. And we have a picture of the concrete walls made by the man. This led to the realization of a huge and extraordinary biodiversity within the Mar Piccolo di Taranto. And we have some image of what is possible can be realized on this artificial substrate. We have the ropes under the buoys, we have the poles, we have a part of the poles, we have another poles, and these are ropes and so on. All these human activity and infrastructure influence deeply the ecosystem within Mar Piccolo di Taranto. Without the presence of human artifacts, human infrastructures, maybe all this biodiversity will not be possible. One important element is the mussel farming, because the mussel farm influences the ecosystem with the presence of the infrastructures, but influences the ecosystem with the wastes coming out from the mussel farming. And here we have an example of how an habitat can be realized on wastes coming from the mussel farming. Here we have rhodolith beds. Rhodoliths are realized starting from the bulbs of the bivalves, of the shells of gastropods, and so on. So this is another particular environment realized indirectly by the humans. Okay, in this environment, about 15 years ago, thanks to Michele, Gristina, and Giuseppe Corriero, we started to study seahorses. We realized that there were a very huge population of both species of seahorses, with a very high density of both species. Okay. Of course, considering that Mar Piccolo is one of the lagoons available along the Apulian coast and along the Italian coast, the first question was to investigate, to understand how unique was the situation in Mar Piccolo, or on the contrary, how this situation of a very rich population of seahorses were along the Apulian and Italian coast. So we started to investigate with several different approaches the consistency, the presence of a population of seahorses along the Apulian coast, and we recognize different other populations, but it's clear that the future population within Mar Piccolo di Taranto were unique, but we have other populations, like Polignano a Mare, Porto Cesario, with a few not so big population. The most important population was within the Mar Piccolo di Taranto. One of the elements that we should consider is the difference in size of seahorses within Mar Piccolo di Taranto, because the maximum size of in the Mar Piccolo di Taranto were lower than all the other seahorses that we investigate, and this can be explained in a different way, by different approach. It can be due to the presence of pollutant chemicals within Mar Piccolo di Taranto, so they the adults cannot reach the very large dimensions. They die before to reach the maximum dimension. It could be related to a biological future of the population, or it could be related to adaptation to the environment. Then we try to investigate the use of space of seahorses, because it was very important to understand how they use the habitat within Mar Piccolo di Taranto. And we made a 2-year experiment in which, during this experiment, we put a tag to the seahorses to monitor monthly the presence of seahorses, to understand how they move, how much they move during the 4 seasons in a 2-year period. The very important thing, but we also saw something like this, is that many seahorses spend, let's say, the whole life in tens of meters. So we found in 10 or 12 meters the same seahorses for almost 1 year. And very important for us was the differential movement of male and female young and adults, with the female that tend to move faster and more than males, as expected. Okay, unfortunately, during this period of monitoring, we witnessed a very dramatic crash in the population. We were monitoring monthly the population, and during a season, in 3 months, we recorded a decline, unbelievable decline of the population. In less than 1 season, we lost 90% of the population. It was terrible for us. So you can see here how dramatic was the decline of the population until 2016, 2018. So we start to investigate the causes of this decline with the different approaches. We started to talk with the citizens, with the fishermen, to understand if there was something was happening in the Mar Piccolo of the Taranto, to understand if there was something related to the illegal harvesting of seahorses. And we recognized that a lot of people, most of them divers, fishermen, and people who control Mar Piccolo di Taranto, knows exactly what was going on. So this was terrible for us. So we try to investigate deeply to avoid to, we needed to be sure that the cause was related to illegal harvesting. So we started to investigate deeply the future of the whole ecosystem. So to start to investigate in a very strange, huge way the structure and the functioning of each habitat within Mar Piccolo di Taranto. So we start to mapping the whole area, thanks to an agreement with the local government, the local municipality, and the director of the National Regional Park present in Mar Piccolo, which is present in Mar Piccolo. We started to investigate the ecological suitability of each habitat for the presence of seahorses, to exclude the possibility of an ecological alteration of the system. And what we saw is here reported. We investigate rhodolite beds, chimodosha beds. Here we report the first result. As you can see, the diversity of Mar Piccolo di Taranto is very, very high, and more research we do within Mar Piccolo, and more species we can find, and this is clear visible in the cumulative curve here. Okay, I have only 2 minutes left. This is the result of the mapping within Mar Piccolo di Taranto. I want just to underline this situation, which is a muddy bottom covered from a bentopleustic form of a green alga, which is very important for the conservation of hippocampus, which prefer this kind of habitat. Okay, let's go on with this. This is an important part of the presentation. According to the local municipality, we realized the 3 special protected area within Mar Piccolo di Taranto with different level of protection. In one of these area, we made an experiment to increase the ecological complexity of the system, realizing artificial habitat that could allow the attach of seahorses and could allow in this particular part of the substrate the position of sediments. So this means the realization of meiofauna and macrofauna community, which is the basis for the food of seahorses. And this what happened after 1 year. The structure is completely covered by fouling, mainly represented by bryozoans, hydrozoa, mollusks, polychaetes, and so on. And the most important thing was that on this structure, now we can, when we go to do monitoring, we can find up to 7 seahorses frequenting being present on the structure. The other important part was a tentative and experiment to reinforce the local population in collaboration with the Aquarium of Genova. We took some couple from the Mar Piccolo and we bred them in the Aquarium di Genova, and then we released it in three different times in the Mar Piccolo of Taranto. Now we are monitoring the population. Just to conclude, I would like to underline how conservation is a complex problem, a complex issue, and requires a lot of competence, a lot of entity. Without a relationship with the local government, it's quite impossible to realize a successful protection project. Thank you very much.